bad, but it'll be better once it goes live. So even if it's bad on here, it's good on there. So let me just make
No
sure that's
worries.
live. Okay, it's perfect there.
Oh, it even says it. Actual recording quality is higher.
Shut that up. Right. Okay. We are. Okay, amazing. We are live on YouTube, and now we are live on Link. We're going live on LinkedIn. It's going to take a couple of seconds. So.
How exciting. I have no idea. Like, I don't have LinkedIn. Oh, I actually do have LinkedIn open. Can I see this?
Amazing. That's good. Well, so we'll have the chat here. I want to thank you to Pascalle for joining me for this session of creating better business experiences. I am so excited to introduce you. I have been speaking to Pascalle and seen so many of her workshops. So if you haven't seen any of her workshops, you guys are in for a treat for our conversation today. There is no one that I think is an absolute expert more than Pascalle at this. So I would love, please introduce yourself and just talk to us a little bit about your story and where you came from.
Yeah, of course. So, hello everybody. My name is Pascalle. If you're thinking, what? It's not an English name. It's actually a French name, but I am Dutch, just to make things more confusing for you. I'm originally from the Netherlands, moved to the UK about 7 years ago, and have been living my life here ever since. So my background is in musical theater. I started when I was 4 in the musical Peter Pan, where my mother played Tinkerbell, and fell in love with everything storytelling and public speaking because I loved being on stage and telling a story and sharing that experience with the audience. So 20 years later, I ended up on the West End after doing a bachelor's and a master's in arts and musical theater, and I've done that for as long as I can remember. Unfortunately, 5 years ago, I left the industry because of an injury that I had and moved into corporate. And that is how we are here today, because just over a year ago, I decided that I did not want to work for a boss anymore. So I launched my own business, PresenTales, where I now help people present better, speak better, and tell better stories that make them feel excited and that makes the audience feel excited. So that's what we do.
Amazing. I mean, how have you found that storytelling makes a huge impact on businesses in general and the experience that you can, as a consumer or as somebody within the business, have on kind of the experience that everybody else has?
So I think the great thing that storytelling does, it builds a universal place for everybody to get together. So if we are in a big auditorium and there's 1,000 people there, we can all be in the same place, even though we're all from different backgrounds, we all have different beliefs, different principles. We are all there in that moment in time and we can share an experience. And I think that is what storytelling does. And that's why it's so powerful, because once you share that experience, you make a connection with somebody. And in a world where it's so easy to become disconnected from the world, I think that is a really powerful tool.
What have you noticed I think, in the past couple of years about storytelling as a method to be able to gain business, but also to be able to communicate more your positioning as whether you're a founder or an entrepreneur?
So, in terms of gaining business, storytelling is a superpower, because what you can do, you can influence how people feel by doing the right things in terms of storytelling.
Mm.
So if you look into different storytelling frameworks, or I use a storytelling framework that's called story selling, so that is selling through stories. You lay out the land for people, you build the problem, you build the challenge, you show them how hard it is to solve their problem, and then you come in with a solution. And all you do is you create what I call emotional urgency. And emotional urgency is where we build up this really, really big problem for someone, for example. We show them that we understand their problem. We give them the feeling that it's okay for them to ask for help. In the meantime, they think, oh my God, this person understands 100% what my problem is, but it's so hard to solve. Even they're saying that it's hard to solve. Whatever will I do? And then you come in with your solution. So
Yeah.
that is where you start working with those neurotransmitters and those hormones within the brain. You start working them, you start influencing them with the way you tell your stories. Because the more emotional urgency we build up here, the bigger the emotional relief. and the bigger and the more neurotransmitters and hormones flood our brains in order to help us make the decision. So that is why emotion, storytelling, and decision making are all in the same basket.
I mean, have you got any stories of a story that's been sold terribly that you could share with us?
Oh gosh. Well, I used to work in finance, right? So I worked in finance for a little bit when I was figuring out what I wanted to do after stopping with my musical theater career. And I sat in many presentations where people, they start, they go, "Hi, our company does this. Look how great we are." And the first thing I think is, you don't sound like a very nice person. That's the first thing, because as an audience, I don't care about you. I care about me. People are selfish, okay? So I don't care about who you are and how great your company is. I want to know if you understand why I'm here today and why should I even listen to you. So that was the first mistake I saw people make. And then they instantly went into why their product is so great and what it can do for me. But they've missed out completely on building that emotional urgency. They haven't made me feel anything except for, you're a bit of an arrogant douche, to be honest. So we don't want that. So all they did was talk. Look at how amazing I am. I am fantastic. Now buy the product. And I was like, well, I don't feel inclined at all to buy this product. And all I needed to do, because I worked in sales and finance, was just make people feel something, even the slightest thing, and they'd be like, oh yeah, we'll buy it. Because this is a whole different way of communicating. So I think where people, they come in with all the data and all the yucky stuff that we don't care about at that point in the conversation. And that's another problem I see people make, right? They think it's a monologue. It's not about you. Public speaking and presenting is a dialogue. It's just a silent dialogue with a partner that doesn't speak back at you.
That's fascinating. I mean, if you think about it in that way, is, I mean, how can someone, if this is something that they're doing, how can they kind of recognize that that is something that they're doing without potentially knowing in the start if they're
right? Have
not
you ever
selling the right
seen,
way?
when you're presenting and you're presenting, in a bit of a selfish manner, have you ever seen people doodle things in their little notebooks?
Yeah.
That's probably a sign that you're not being too engaging. So if people start checking their phones, or they're sort of looking away, they're not looking at your screen, or they're not looking at you, they're most likely not thinking about whatever you're trying to say there. So get your social cues in order, is what I would say.
I mean, you talk about storytelling and you go into, from your background in acting, you go really into how someone communicates outside of just the story itself or what they're selling. I mean, what are some of the really key things that, alongside the story itself, signifies a really great, let's say, story sell, or that someone could think about or look out for when looking at telling their story?
Yes. So when we have a great story, we also need to tell it in a great way, and vice versa. You can be a really good presenter, but if your story is shit, nobody's going to listen. All right.
Yeah.
So, from whatever you say and whatever we share today, only about 7% will get remembered. That means that it doesn't matter how long your speech really is, if only 7% gets taken away, you as the presenter need to make sure that people take away the right things. So that is why we use our voice, for example. I slow down when I've got something really important to say, or I speed up a little bit when I get really excited and I want you to feel excited. My voice goes higher as well, because it signifies that I'm like, hey, I'm happy, this is exciting, feel it with me. But if I'm talking about something really serious, I lower my voice ever so slightly, and I take maybe a couple more pauses, right? And it shows you like, oh, this is maybe a bit tricky, or it's something I need to pay attention to. It's a bit mysterious. So you can play with that. You can direct people where you want them to pay attention. But let's face it, or our attention spans are not as long anymore, especially with social media and everything. We constantly get different prompts. So you need to prompt people on when they need to pay attention and what is important in your story. Your voice is a great indicator for that. Your facial expressions are a great indicator for that. And obviously your body language. I see so many people do everything here, and they gesture, but they don't really gesture. Gesture if you're going to gesture. Make the move if you're going to make a move. Don't do anything sort of half-assed.
Yeah. And you can see that 100% from when you start the conversation to now. And I find myself automatically thinking and doing it while you're talking, or when you speed up your voice, for example, immediately I start to laugh because I know that something exciting is coming along. So unbelievably effective from the way that you talk about it. So anyone listening, if you think about how you stand and present yourself right now, this is a huge one because I'm already automatically and subconsciously thinking, okay, use your hand gestures, articulate with your voice in a really clear way. And then if you
Mm,
want someone to get excited, do X, Y, and Z. So I think passing that over into presentations can, I mean, there's already so much there. And we had a conversation actually when we spoke about this topic, and we were chatting about in a post-COVID world, the effect of digital and storytelling and how much harder it is for everyone to be able to sell with that voice, but also communicate in your
mm.
story. I mean, what is there anything that you've noticed more so between different age groups as well, between founders, their teams, and what has the effect of that had from your perspective?
Absolutely. I even see it with people that have grown up in sort of a more digital era. I mean, I grew up where we still played outside. We had human interaction. Right? I see people who maybe did not have that as much. Like I've already feel like an old lady because I don't know how TikTok works. I'm 27. I should really know how TikTok works, but I don't because I prefer human interaction. And there's no better or wrong way, nothing like that. But I do notice that people who have grown up in this era where we do a lot of online. We have a whole generation that went to university online because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
They did their graduation and everything online. And what I see is that people are not very good at taking social cues anymore because all they know is this, right? They see the face, a little bit of the hands, maybe a bit of the chest, and that's it. They don't know how to carry themselves on stage. They
Mm.
don't know how to carry themselves in a networking meeting because they're like, oh, now I'm here and I've got all these limbs that I need to do something with. Right? So I see that they also struggle with the social cues and picking them up. So I think there is definitely something to say for how social media and the online world has impacted us with how we take social cues and also the comfort that we now start feeling. Because especially after COVID and in a
Mm.
post-COVID world, I see people who've spent 2.5 years inside being very comfortable, pajama bottoms on and business on the top. And they're like, oh, I'm all good when it's presenting like this because I'm in the comfort of my own home. Yet when they then have to go on stage, they're like, oh, absolutely not. Because there's all these real people, I can hear them breathing. This is really scary. So I feel that the nervousness and the anxiety that comes with live presenting and live interactions has gone up a lot significantly. But then this is absolutely fine for people.
Interesting. I mean, in terms of success, what would you find is the difference between online and in person? Do you feel that there's been a change in that and that there should be anything different that people should consider online and versus in person?
Absolutely. I think when you are presenting online, you need to be aware of the real estate that you have, right?
Mm.
If I'm gesturing here, you can't really see what I'm doing, which is really annoying because there's just this thing moving down here. You need to move up here. So you need to be more aware of how you're using your body language and the little bit of body language that you do have.
Yeah.
Because I can't put my arms here because then you can't see my hands at all. You can
Yeah.
see my little chicken fillets going like this, right? So you have to be a lot smaller with your body language, but it
Yeah.
means you need to be more intentional with it. If
Yeah.
you're on a bigger stage or you're, in front of your team in a live meeting, then you need to suddenly be able to move across the board or you need to move in a way that is engaging and exciting. So again, you need to be more intentional of how you move, but then you also have the rest of your body to think about. So do we stand up straight? Are we moving? Are we not moving? How are we using our body language?
Yeah. I mean, and you're right, there's so many differences between both in person and digital, and we've got to be able to
Gosh, yeah.
consider that. I mean, if you are because I know that you work with not just a lot of founders and leaders, but you work with a lot of team members
Yeah.
of businesses as well. And often some of the struggles that I know that I encounter when I work with my clients is that they struggle to get every different type of personality to be able to have the confidence to speak. If you're that type of person who doesn't have the confidence to stand up, normally you're used to sitting in the background and you have something that you'd like to say, but you don't have the confidence to do it. What could that person do right now?
So I think that person, if they can, need, and like they're in a safe environment, need to have a chat with one of their colleagues first. So
Mm.
I would speak to a colleague that you trust and go, hey, I struggle with this. I would like your help with this, so that you can maybe do it in a duo capacity, because then they can do a little of the talking and then you can jump in, so you can start getting a feel of it a little bit. And it's when somebody basically gives you the mic, they go, well, Pascalle also had some cool ideas, right? Do you want to share your view? And then that helps, because often those people find it very scary to put their hand up. But if they trust somebody, they can help them to, to start speaking. If you want to take it a bit further, you can even talk to your manager about it and go, listen, I struggle with this, but I would appreciate it if you check in with me and send me the questions beforehand that you're going to ask, so that I can prepare them and then share my thoughts in the meeting. So that is a really helpful tool that a lot of my team members use. They just ask for the questions beforehand, they can prepare, and they don't feel like they're being put on the spot.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, in terms of like open floor communication, then if a team member there's kind of so many different personalities in the same room and you're a leader, how would you then help facilitate that session to get everyone to be able to communicate in the right way, but also for yourself to be able to have, in terms of public speaking, you've got a room of people here. So what can you do to be able to manage that situation?
So as a leader, it's your job to make sure everybody feels comfortable, right? So I would have a conversation with everybody and go, hey,
Mm.
how would you like to share your ideas? Is there a special way that you want, how you would like to be treated, or how you would like these meetings to go? And then you've got data, and you can use that information to build these sessions. So you can go, hey guys, we're going to start with all the people that are very excited to share their ideas and who don't feel nervous. And then we're going to, take a break, and we're going to take some time for the people who are a bit more nervous. We're going to take a bit more time for them. We're going to give them time to prepare in the break, so that they can prepare their answers, they can prepare their ideas, and then they can get up and share their thoughts and whatever they want to share.
Amazing. I mean, what happens if it goes wrong?
So this is a question I get all the time. Like, what if it goes wrong? Absolutely nothing. Nothing happens when it goes wrong. Because what is wrong? That's something you need to identify within the team. What is wrong? I mean, I've been on stage. I can't believe I'm saying this on a live broadcast, but I've peed myself on stage. Now, that can be considered wrong, okay? That can be considered very wrong. I don't consider that a failing performance. I actually took a bow and got a standing ovation for that. So I just laughed so hard it just happened, okay? It's also embarrassing on how many podcasts I've spoken about this. It's getting out of hand. Someone stop me. Gosh. But it's what is wrong, okay? So it can't really go wrong. If you get off track, or you feel like you've gone off into a tantrum and you've lost your point completely. I mean, I've got ADHD. It happens to everybody, okay? So you just say, guys, I'm sorry, I've lost my track. Can I just pick it up where I remember, where I was still making my point? And that's absolutely fine. But it's, for a leader, you need to also recognize that and go, oh, do you maybe want to stop a second? I feel like you're going a bit off track. Do you want to take a breather and take it back in 5 minutes and then let somebody else go first? You need to be able to recognize that and see what people need from you. And that is also why those conversations beforehand are really helpful. Because I always told my managers, like, hey, I've got ADHD. Sometimes I go off on a tantrum and it's really hard to get back. So I'm going to need you to stop me. And that was really helpful when they did that for me. So that felt really supportive.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a lot of work that I do with clients is all around recognizing personalities and understanding who we've got in our teams to be able to make sure that the floor is safe to communicate. Everyone feels confident in speaking their voice and getting their perspective across, and understanding and recognizing that as a leader, but also potentially even as a team member, because when other members might not be able to facilitate the conversation, and you can have that possibility to be able to step in and encourage someone to feel confident in speaking publicly about their opinion, their perspective, or what they want to say, really.
Absolutely.
I find that fascinating. I mean, your journey is pretty incredible. I mean, from acting and then public speaking, being in corporate. I mean, what would you say from your perspective, from your journey, is one of the biggest things that you've learned about public speaking throughout your kind of life and career so far?
My sort of 20-year career. So there's a couple of things people need to realize about public speaking. Stop trying to be perfect. It's never going to happen. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable and get comfortable with the fact that you're not going to be perfect. And I also believe that if you think you can be perfect, you're always losing. So just try to be the best version of yourself in that moment in time. Second, nerves are part of the deal. And if there's anybody out there who says that they can take your nerves away, they're lying. That you can't do that, okay? We
Yeah.
need those nerves. It's adrenaline, it's going to help you. But what you need to learn is to walk alongside those nerves. All right, to exist alongside them, not let them take over your entire system where you just feel paralyzed. We have the nerves, we recognize them, and we know how to deal with them. That is existing alongside the fear because we need that fear, because we need a little bit of that fear to stay humble, but also to push us onto this stage and do all the cool things we do, because that is what adrenaline does. It's amazing. It does a great job for you. So learn to live alongside the fear. And number three, don't worry about making mistakes. You're going to make loads of mistakes up there. So you might as well just go with it. Okay. People think, oh, what if I stumble over a word? What if I say or ah? I mean, you're going to. So just embrace it. Just work with it and just enjoy the time that you're up there. Because when do you ever get to be in a place where you get to speak uninterrupted? I mean, in my household, that never happens. So just enjoy it while it lasts. Okay.
When I speak to my cat, I mean, she interrupts me all the time.
I know.
And yeah, I completely agree with you. If there's anything I learned, I mean, the biggest piece of advice I can always think around this is someone just take a deep breath, like a really deep breath, and try and look at what was I trying to say? What was the point I was trying to make? And then continue with that. And then if you can't think of it, just vamp for a while. You'll
Just
figure
take
it
a
all out
step
in the
back.
end.
Just take a step back. I mean, don't forget that you're human. I know we live in a world where half of our interactions are with an AI. Absolutely. But we are still human. So if you are on a stage and you just completely blank what you need to do, walk over to the lectern and just say, I'm just going to quickly check my notes for a second. Because all it does is shows the audience that you're still human and they will root for you. They want you to do well. So don't worry about it. My singing teacher always used to say, oxygen is free. That goes for public speaking as well. Okay. So keep breathing. Just as long as you keep breathing, you'll be absolutely fine.
100%. I mean, and I've asked this question to every one of my guests so far, is if someone is feeling like they're struggling with public speaking or they're afraid of public speaking and they literally have no idea where the first place is to start, what is the first thing that they can do to be able to improve their public speaking?
Sure. So there's a couple of routes you can take. You can take the I'm going to practice with some friends route. So you can just grab some colleagues or some good friends and spend an evening just presenting on, what would the world look like if you were president or something like that. Just present on silly things and have fun with it. Get a glass of wine, get a snack, maybe a cheese board here and there. Why not? Right, so you can practice with friends. So that it just gives you some exposure. The other thing you can do is find a coach, right? So there are loads of people out there who can help you, not just me, that have great tips. Like I share tips almost every day on LinkedIn. So if you are like, oh, I don't know where to start, just follow a couple of public speaking coaches. They'll do loads of videos, they'll do loads of tips online that you can follow and that you can take away. And the last thing I would say, start breathing. Like seriously, start learning how to breathe. So if you look up on the internet, diaphragmatic breathing, this is a way of breathing that we call belly breathing. And I call it headlight breathing, which is pretending like your belly is like a headlight that you turn on. And it helps you to calm down because often where it starts, it's by controlling those nerves. So that is one of the first things I would say. Just go onto YouTube, diaphragmatic breathing. You're absolutely sorted.
I love that. And I mean, obviously, I've just dropped in the chat. If you have any questions, please send them through to us so that Pascalle can ask those before we finish in the next couple of minutes. But if someone is looking to get in touch with you and is interested in what you do, let us know. What is it that you can do for people and how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I work with people in a one-to-one or a group capacity. So with our one-to-one coaching, we have a strategy call where we talk about your challenges, but also your goals. Like, what is the ultimate goal that you have for your public speaking career, or the public speaking sort of objectives that you have? And then we work together on how we can overcome that and make it happen. So everything I do with my one-to-one clients is bespoke. So we work on exactly what you need. That could be vocal coaching, it could be body language, it could be storytelling, anything like that. Then we have our group coaching where I come into your office, you've got me for 3 hours, and we're just going to talk about everything storytelling and public speaking. So we'll cover the voice, body language, facial expressions, the whole works. And then lastly, we do keynote creation as well. So helping you create and write a presentation or a keynote that you need to deliver, and then help you on the delivery techniques as well. So that's how I work with people. And if people want to find me, they can do so via LinkedIn. That is the best place to get in touch with me. Just Pascalle Bergmans, and my DMs are always open.
Amazing. I mean, if you do need some immediate tips as well, Pascalle has so many videos on her LinkedIn, and they are honestly, I think even her posts, I've usually like copy and pasted them and put them in my notes for if ever I need a tip. And your secret confession, I've done that with quite a lot of your posts. But it's honestly, thank you so much for joining us. I'll check and see if we've got any questions. If not, and please drop them into the comments. There is a slight delay on this, so they might not come through immediately. But I'll make sure that myself and Pascalle are in the comments so that she can answer any of those. I will drop all her links in the comments of this as well, so that anyone can access her, book a call with her, whatever those next steps are. She is honestly everywhere, absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad you joined me. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.